3, 2. Welcome to Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name's Abdullah.
And my name's Iman.
We're the Holistic Kids, here to educate and empower us kids from the inside out.
We are the Holistic Kids. Love to eat? Who doesn't love to eat?
We also love to come up with our own fun ways to cook food. I love creativity. It is really important for kids to start getting in the kitchen and help come with some really fun recipes too. Why is it so important? I like when my mom cooks for me and brings me food on a silver plate like a king. Imad,
Zen, that only happens in your dream. We are talking about reality. And we have the perfect person here today to talk about just that, Miss Lisa Jendza. Miss Lisa Jendza is a business coach and a holistic health coach, and is also a great founder of the Freedom Kitchen and the host of the Freedom Kitchen Summit that is happening actually right now. So it is a must attend. Actually, we are speaking in it, so you have to attend. The links to join is in the description below above. If you can see it. Freedom Kitchen transcends time and space to offer cooking classes and education to those ready to eat real food. And it is a place for health enthusiasts to gather. After teaching holistic health for 13 years, Miss Lisa saw a need to teach kids. She found that kids want to know the best foods to eat, and they love creating something new in the kitchen. And kids are able to understand what nutrition dense means, and the meaning of low glycemic index, and how to feel their very best. It might also surprise you, but after kids learn about food dyes and alternatives to use super food coloring, they say no to chemicals and in their food. They want to have options and healthy choices. Wow. Thank you so much, Miss Lisa. We are so honored to welcome you today.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so impressed with you boys, and I'm so happy to have you on the Freedom Kitchen Summit.
It's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure.
So, how did you start teaching kids to cook? Earl, before we started, you were telling you had a large amount of kids that came and participated. That's amazing.
Yeah, I started teaching adults, and then I had some requests to teach kids. And I wasn't sure that kids could learn or would want to eat healthy. And I decided to give it a try, and I started making some classes for kids, but I knew I wanted to make them completely healthy. And I wasn't sure if kids would like all of the healthy food. And surprisingly, they did.
That's super cool.
Super cool.
Super cool.
So,
What is your favorite lesson to teach kids?
My favorite lesson to teach is how to use superfoods to color our food, because we all like colorful food. I like colorful food. I like all the colors of the rainbow. So I like to have bright pink or blue or purple in my food. But sometimes, things at the grocery store are colored with chemicals. And so I like to teach the kids in my classes how to color their food with superfoods, like dried blueberry powder or dried cherry powder, or we could use something like acai berry or dragon fruit powder. And then those are actually superfoods, and those superfoods have lots of nutrients. So we get all of the bright and fun colors in our food, but we're adding nutrients.
So the food that we are eating today is totally not the same food our grandparents used to eat. I mean, back then they didn't have all those artificial colorings, all of that processed man-made junk. So why is the food now? I mean, I talked about artificial stuff, but why? Why would they add it? into all of these stuff.
Yeah, because they think that you're going to spend more money on it. So they put artificial colors in to make something pretty so that we spend our money on it. And they put artificial flavors in to make it taste better or to give it a stronger taste because they want us to buy their product. And so all of those, though, are chemicals. And those chemicals do enhance the look of the product or the flavor of the product, but it's not good for us. They do that really just so that we spend more money on their product.
So, why didn't they do that? I mean, Ma, do you have something to say?
Yeah, my friend said that the colors in their food make it taste good. Can we make it colorful without it?
Yes, we can. We can make our food colorful and we can make it taste even better with superfoods. We could add in some dried blueberry powder or some dried dragon fruit powder, and we could make the food actually taste better. Some kids find that once they start using superfoods to color their food, they don't want to go back to chemicals. They can taste the chemicals in their food.
That's horrible.
Horrible.
We talk a lot about rainbow foods in some other episodes. So if you want to check out all of those beautiful colors and all of the fruits and vegetables, you can go check that out. How do you get kids in the kitchen if they have never been there before?
Well, I think a lot of kids actually come to the kitchen because they think it's just going to be fun and an activity. And then I think they're surprised at how much creativity there is and how fun it is to make their own food and to be responsible for themselves. I'm not sure that every kid signs up for cooking classes because they want to be responsible for themselves, but ultimately they end up finding that being able to cook for themselves is pretty cool. Just like you guys, you don't have to wait for your mom all the time to come cook for you, right?
Right.
Yeah, we just go to the fridge, get something out, and just eat it. That's why, and she doesn't have to hide anything because we don't have any of those addictive sugar filled cookies or chips and all the artificial stuff.
Yes. Yes, you guys have healthy food in your house and you guys know how to prepare food.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes my parents don't want us to make a mess, so keep us out of the kitchen. What do you say to those parents?
Well, that's how I was with my kids too. Sometimes when we're really busy as parents, we might feel like it just makes a mess to have our kids in the kitchen. And I wish I would have had my kids in the kitchen more. And what I tell the parents now when their kids come to my classes is to make a space in the kitchen or to have a day or two out of the week that their children cook with them. So maybe it's not every day if they're busy, but maybe it's a couple different days out of the week that their child cooks with them or does all the cooking for dinner. I have some of my students that actually can cook entire meals by themselves.
So why is it really important to get kids in the kitchen?
Well, it's really good to be creative. We want to be able to use both sides of our brain. And do you know that when we follow a recipe, that uses the left side of our brain? But when we get creative in the kitchen, that uses the right side of our brain. So then we have whole brain activation in the kitchen. So it allows for us to be creative and also resourceful. We become more resourceful when we cook and when we create things ourselves, when we substitute different ingredients. It's good to be responsible for yourself and know how to cook for yourself because that's really a basic survival skill.
That's amazing.
Amazing. How do you make it fun to cook vegetables?
Well, everybody thinks vegetables are boring because they're usually on the side of our plate, right? They're usually just the side dish. And I make them the main dish, and we make them all different ways. So we might take one vegetable, maybe sweet potatoes, and then cook with them 3 weeks in a row in cooking class. And we'll do 3 totally different things with them. We might make a breakfast bowl, a breakfast mash with sweet potatoes. And then we might make black bean sweet potato enchiladas. And then we might make a broccoli cheddar soup with sweet potatoes mashed up in the soup. So that someone who thinks that they don't like sweet potatoes might find if they just try them a different way, they'll like them.
So, what about kids that are really picky eaters and they just want to have all that sugary chips and candy? How do you get them to try new foods?
I think the first key to trying new foods is to get them in the kitchen and have them cook something for themselves, because when they make it, they want to try it. So we start with desserts. We start with treats if that's what they're used to. We always start with granola bars or cakes or cookies in my classes. We just make them healthy so that they know that they can still have their treats, but they have to make them so that they know what ingredients are in them. I always say it's okay to have our treats, but we need to control the amount of sugar and we need to know what ingredients are put in our treats.
What about sugar?
Well, sugar is in far too many foods. I'm so glad you asked, because as Americans, we eat way too much sugar. And the food companies have put so much sugar in all of the food, really because it's addictive. And what that means is it releases chemicals in our brain that make us want to eat more. So when I have my students make their own treats, we use only natural forms of sugar like fruit or dates, honey or maple syrup, coconut sugar, because that's a low glycemic index. And then we only use one form of sugar and they control that sweetness. Do you know in a lot of the foods in the grocery store, they'll put 3 or 4 kinds of sugar and they try to hide it under different names. So that's why so many of us now feel like we're addicted to sugar when we eat too much of it.
So that's why we should always look and try to look at the labels and try to figure out which one has all this artificial sugar and which one is actually organic and has no artificial colorings, or at least very, very little.
Yes. Yes, we should be reading the labels. And if we see anything with a number, then we know that's not a food, right? Because there's no foods that have a number. So if we see like red number 40, well, that can't be a food because foods don't have a number, right?
Right.
Right.
So, what is your favorite thing to start kids who have never been in the kitchen?
If they've never been in the kitchen, I usually start them with granola bars because that's like the biggest aisle at the grocery store.
After cereal.
After cereal, yes. When you look at the snack aisle, there's all kinds of bars, and we tend to be a convenient society. And what I teach the kids is that they can have their own bars, but they have to make them themselves so they know what's in them. And then I teach them how to take that same recipe and make it different so they can have different bars every week. And you know the other benefit of making their own bars? They don't have so much packaging to throw away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Parents don't want to get kids to get cut or hurt. What tips do you give kids to keep them safe in the kitchen?
Well, depending on their age, I tell them not to be in the kitchen without their parents because they do have to learn knife skills. They have to learn how to cut. We always want to make sure we curl our fingers under. We can cut into the tunnel. We use bear claws. So there's some different instructions that I teach on my videos. But depending on the age, I would say don't be in the kitchen without a parent because you need some practice.
When do you start teaching kids to use a knife?
Age 6. 6 years old. The kids coming into my class are in first grade, and they are all able to use a knife, and I do have them start cooking on the stove. Fortunately, actually, at my cooking school, I don't have a gas stove, so they can't catch on fire. So I use an induction stove. So at age 6, I actually have them cooking on the stove and using a knife and introducing them to all the kitchen utensils.
So you're talking about how you start from age 6. What is the age range for the kids that come to your class? Is it from 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds, or
Right now, I take ages 6 to 18.
What do kids find surprise? What do kids find surprise them the most when they get in the kitchen?
I think they're surprised the most that healthy food can taste good. And I think they surprise themselves that they can actually cook it. So the parents are allowed to come in at the end of class, and the kids are able to serve their parents what they made, and they're always so proud of what they made. So I think that is the most surprising thing, is that they can make it and that healthy food tastes good.
So, what is your favorite recipe to do in the kitchen?
My favorite recipe, well, the first thing that came to mind is chocolate cake. And maybe that's just because I want chocolate cake today. But I do love to make a chocolate cake with almond flour. It's so yummy.
And what are your favorite recipes to do with beginners and the kids?
My favorite recipes to do with the kids. I think the most fun that we've had was our parfait class. So we did chia seed pudding. We made vanilla and chocolate. We had 4 stations set up in class. And they made chia seed pudding in one station. They made baked granola in another station. They made caramel made out of tahini, which is sesame seed paste. And they made peach jam and apple jam on the stove. And then we set up a buffet and we let them build parfaits. Do you guys know what a parfait is? They layered it in cups so they could put their pudding, their caramel, their granola, and their jam, and they could make these pretty parfaits. And everyone had so much fun with those. And I taught them all different ways to do those at home because we all like variety. So I wanted to give them something they could do at home and then change it up.
That sounds really delicious. I'm getting hungry now. So, what do you have any tips for parents when you think of cooking? You think of, I have to go get all of these ingredients. I have to go, that's why a lot of kids, the only thing they know how to cook is how to make mac and cheese. They just rip it open the box, put it inside the they just steam it, boil it, done. They have it. What do these kids do they have do they do boxed with all of the
So in my classes we don't do anything out of a box. They make everything from scratch, and it's such a good question because we live in the convenience era and we've been convinced that we don't have enough time, and so that's why we have all of these foods in a box. But I'm going to give you a really good example. So if I bought a cake mix, I would have to add 3 or 4 ingredients to the bowl. And by the time I'm done, I'm going to add 4 or 5 ingredients to the bowl. The cake mix plus the eggs, the oil, the water. Well, if I make a cake from scratch, it's only 6 ingredients in the bowl. So what we think is a convenience really isn't a convenience. It's just something that we've been made to believe, that we don't have enough time and that we need these products in a box. And we could make mac and cheese just as fast on our own, just as well as we could with making a cake on our own. So my classes are really designed for the whole family. I have lots of parents who watch the videos with their kids so that they can go back to the basics, so they can learn with their kids how to get in the kitchen and make things from scratch.
So, do you have any tips what tips do you have for parents to get their kids in the kitchen and start just cooking?
Carve out time, because if we're in a hurry, then we're causing too much stress. It's too much stress for the parents and it's too much stress on the kids. So even if they start with 1 day a week and they say, okay, on Sundays, we're going to learn how to cook something and we're going to cook it together. If they carve out time and they can be calm and peaceful about it and enjoy it, it will be good for them and it will be good for the kids.
What are your thoughts about gardening? Does it make kids want to get cooking in the kitchen?
I think some of my students do have gardens, probably bigger than my garden. I have just a little garden in my backyard. So I do mostly greens, but I think some of the kids in my cooking classes actually have bigger gardens than me. And we made a recipe last year where we did zoodles with zucchini and tomato basil sauce with fresh tomatoes, fresh basil, and fresh zucchini. And the kids all know that they can grow all three of those. We live here in Michigan, and all three of those grow great in Michigan. They can even grow basil and tomatoes in containers on their patio. So the kids were pretty excited that that was something they could grow and cook.
What are your tips to get kids to garden? And I love to garden. Actually, I love to pick the fruit off our garden and eat it.
That's good. It's good that you like to garden. I think that it starts with the parents planting a little garden, or at least starting the kids with a container garden. What I suggested to the students last year is if they didn't have a garden, just get a couple containers, put them on the patio, and start with something easy. So here in Michigan, basil and tomatoes grow very easy, and I thought those would be super easy for the kids to start with, and then they would know what to do with those. So container gardens are probably the easiest way to start if someone doesn't have a garden.
We have a garden and we love to grow mint, basil, parsley, all of these amazing herbs, and even maybe a cucumber or some tomatoes. Um, what about the scraps that come from our food? A lot of people do put them in compost.
Yes.
Is there any other thing to do with them? And is that important? Because a lot of kids just waste so much food. So what do you propose that we do with all that food if you can't compost?
Well, if you're juicing and you have pulp, you can also put that into soups, or you can put that into muffins. So we can use some of our scraps in our pulp. We can make vegetable broth with any of our scraps. Any of our veggie scraps can be frozen. And then the next time you make a vegetable broth or you're making a soup, you can simmer all of those vegetable pieces to make the base for your broth. And then I do love having a composter. I now have a composter here. And one of the things we talk about in class is having less packages, for sure. That's why I ask the kids to make their own granola bars and things so that we don't have as much waste. So definitely composting what we can and reducing the amount of waste that we have.
We love to juice.
So do I.
So what is one thing kids and parents can start today, either in the kitchen or by just changing the way you eat? Do you have any tips?
Yes. My biggest tip is to have the child create their own cookbook. Because I think when they have their own cookbook and their own space in the kitchen, they're more excited about trying new things. So if they have their cookbook and they can add their favorite recipes and they have something to write in and store their ideas in, they can take pictures of the things that they make. But when they start their own cookbook, and it's just a binder that they can color and decorate and write in, it gives them some place to keep all of their recipes in one place. And the next time they go to cook, they can pull out their cookbook and they're not wondering what they made last time or how they made it.
That's super amazing and
Super duper amazing.
Super duper duper amazing.
so. Can you tell us more about your amazing summit?
Amazing.
Amazing, amazing.
I'm so happy to have you guys cooking on the summit. I'm so impressed with you. I just love watching kids like you who are empowered and smart and responsible. And that's really what Freedom Kitchen is about. Freedom Kitchen is about taking responsibility, all of us. And you guys are becoming the role models for all the adults watching. That if you can become responsible for what you eat and what you put in your body, then adults have no excuse not to take responsibility for what they put in their body. So Freedom Kitchen is about setting us free from all of, I would say, the addictive foods, too much sugar, too many packaged foods, too much processed foods, and helping us to make better choices.
Wow, you are so inspirational. Where can people learn more about you and your work and free gifts?
Oh, that's awesome. They can go to freedomkitchenkids.com, and that's where my kids' classes are. I do teach in person in Michigan, but all of my classes now are online. So I have kids all around the country who are taking my classes via video and Zoom. And they can also learn more about me at lisajendza.com. And then, of course, I think we've got there listed the summit. So they can come check you guys out on the summit because you're going to be cooking on the summit on the last day, which is Sunday.
That was so empowering.
So
Everyone-
empowering.
Everyone, make sure to follow Miss Lisa on social media and sign up for her life-changing summit today. Thank you so much, Miss Jendza. Let's recap Miss Jendza's key points. Get kids cooking as it is important for survival, building responsibility, increase creativity, and helps us be resourceful. You can do it. Healthy food does taste good. Anyone can start today. Anyone can start today to find ways to increase variety in your foods. 4. Parents, carve out time to start cooking with us kids. 5. Grow a garden and pick up foods and find fun ways to incorporate the foods into the meals.
Make things from scratch. Use your food scraps to make broth and compost and useless packages. And remember to eat the rainbow and find different ways to make your food colorful and fun using real fruits and veggies and all of this kind. And you can start making a cookbook today. And
Sign up for the summit now. Wow, Miss Lisa, that was amazing. Thank you again for honoring us with your time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zain Ansari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Iman.
Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom MD, and look out for my mom's book, The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease, The Pandemic Prescription, and the amazing children's book we wrote together called Adam's Healing Adventure. So check it out on Amazon. Yay! Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to work together to create a healthier future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kid Show, where kids are powering kids. Thank you,
you, everyone.
everyone.